After gnarly wrist injury some years ago, it never got back to what it was before. After taking on the challenge to become good at handstands, I quickly noticed how my wrist was suffering from it. So to aid this at least a little bit, while still progressing my handstand, I took on the task of building some handles, apparently also called parallettes. When checking out a wood pile, I was in luck and quickly found the needed parts. The goal was to cut 4 blocks to size, create 2 handles and then somehow put everything together. For the blocks, I used the 2 shown pieces of wood. And I have absolutely no idea what they were used for in their previous life, but the handle was probably a curtain rod. The wood for the blocks already had a cut in the middle, which basically determined the size of the finished blocks. After measuring everything up, the plan was to create 2 blocks for each handle. The first one slightly smaller with 13.5 centimeters and the second one with 14.5 centimeters in width. Both would be roughly 9 centimeters in height and 5 centimeters thick when finished. Let's get going. The blocks were not only cut to size, but also roughly into shape to get a somewhat uniform look. After some testing, I decided they're good to go and started sanding them with my belt sander. The goal was to get them smooth enough to also be able to just use the blocks instead of the handle. Also, I definitely didn't want any sharp edges or corners on them. You can see how much I sanded off in this shot pretty well. I wanted to not just screw the handles to the blocks, but create a slightly smoother bond. The goal here, drill potholes into the blocks and turn the handles down far enough to a perfect fit. This should lead to hopefully not even needing any screws at all, with super glue doing the rest. The handles would each be roughly 25 centimeters long after cutting them to size, which would result in 20 centimeter handles in the finished product. I measured roughly 2.5 centimeters towards the ends, which should be plenty of surface to hold my weight, hopefully. On to the fun part, turning the ends of the handles to a good fit. I'm definitely no pro here, and this was just the second time that I actually turned anything, so feel free to leave some feedback on improvement. The biggest pothole drill in the workshop had a 3 centimeter diameter, so I needed to fit that. I drilled holes into the blocks, measuring the height of my hole just by making sure I had enough space beneath for my fingers. Make sure to pre-drill for a smoother ride with the pot drill. Unfortunately, our Bosch professional drill died just seconds into this block and didn't want to start again. I recently checked it and it seems like the switch is gone. In my opinion, power tools that are labeled as professional should probably not start to fall apart after just 3 years. Anyway, I took the drill from the turning station, which is by the way also a Bosch drill, just that this one is already probably 20 years old and I guess still built with the good old quality of actual professional tools. Drilling the holes went well and I got straight back into turning the handles. Now with the actual measurement of the finished holes on my caliper. Math is good, measuring is better. The last bit of this went pretty fast and I have to say, in hindsight, I would have liked to turn down a bit less than I did. It fit well, but to be honest, a bit too well. There was wiggle room and I would have preferred it to be super tight. One more thing I would have done different is this part. I cut the handles to size because I was excited to have a look at the nearly finished product.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, these look great and already did their job without even being glued together. But I definitely wanted to sand the handles smooth, and now I had to put them back into the turning station, which would have been way easier before cutting them apart. After some adjustments, they turned out pretty smooth and I'm quite happy with them. Now on to the part that stressed me out a little bit. Gluing everything together. So far, when working with wood, I usually just screwed everything together. This has the advantage that you're still able to reverse everything if you do a mistake. And it's also just super easy to drill a hole and, well, usually a screw just holds everything together quite well. In this case, I wanted to try something new though. And before doing it all at once, I tried it with one of the holes. The glue had to be applied to both sides that are supposed to go together. Afterwards, I had to wait 10 to 15 minutes and then put it together. I applied pressure and made sure that the block and the handle were in their proper positions with the second block and some weight. I gave the thing a whole day and tested it. This was actually pretty cool and sturdy. No chance for me to pull it apart again.
Okay.
So, on to the rest. Now that I knew how it works, I applied glue to all of the remaining parts, waited for the glue to be ready, and then put all of it together. I again applied pressure with clamps and my weight. Unfortunately, one of the clamps broke. Lucky me, had a replacement ready to go. "24 hours later, I checked it. And there we go, everything working as expected. Since I also wanted to use them indoors without damaging any hardwood flooring or slipping away, my idea was to apply some cork pads to the bottom of the blocks. I cut the cork to size, looked for the best spots for it, and then used the same glue to apply it. Body weight as pressure was sufficient and we are ready to go. A quick cleanup later and I was ready to actually test them for good. Since I'm still a noob on these, here's someone who actually knows her shit. As you can see, they work really well, and hopefully I'll also be able to do these stunts in a couple of months. Probably not. If you like this video, there's definitely some more on my channel for you. Leave a like and a follow, and see you next time. Thanks for watching.